You're listening to BGU Radio.
Hello to all our BGU Radio listeners and welcome to this podcast. I'm Professor Simon Barak and I'm here with Dr. Buzi Raviv, the director of BGU Radio. And we're coming to you from the beautiful Kedma Hotel in Kibbutz Sde Boker, where all the wonderful supporters of BGU have gathered for the 52nd Board of Governors meeting. And we are here with our great friend and supporter, Max Gitter. Max, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, and I thank you for having me.
We are super glad to have you in the radio. Now, Max, you are no stranger to BGU Radio.
That is so. I'm a long-lost uncle.
That's right. Yeah. Well, you were with us before the COVID pandemic in the studio in Sde Boker, right?
Exactly so, but it was a very tiny operation, and I was thrilled to be interviewed then, and I'm thrilled to be interviewed again.
We're happy to have you, and of course, as you know, that we've massively expanded since then. And next time you come, we want you to see our brand new studio, and we'll be happy to have you there as well.
Well, since I'm certain to be here next year, if I'm still alive, I will.
Please God,
I will be there.
Fantastic, Max. In this podcast, I'd like to concentrate a little bit on you and your career, because I googled you yesterday, and I found some of the following quotes: lauded as one of the top courtroom litigators in the USA. Strong advocate with great judgment, praised for the quality of his appellate expertise. You were named in the Best Lawyers of America and one of a distinguished group to receive this honor for at least 15 consecutive years.
Now 25.
25 years, okay, so that I have to update that on the website. So I wanted to begin, Max, with what drew you to a career in law, and where did you study?
Well, I studied at the Yale Law School. What drew me to the law was the inability to think of anything else I'd want to do. And indeed, in my day, about, I would say, half the students at the Yale Law School, I graduated in 1968, came there because they couldn't think of anything else to do. And indeed, I did not even dream of the possibility of becoming a lawyer when I started law school. I thought I would be doing something else with the law. I didn't know what, but I started out by teaching for a year as an adjunct, then joined a large law firm in New York, known for its litigation, one of the major law firms in the country. And I was there as a litigator for over 30 years, first as an associate and then as a partner. Then changed law firms to join another firm that actually hadn't made me an offer the first time going round, and I spent 10 years there as a partner.
And what was your speciality in law?
Litigation. Almost any kind of litigation, except I didn't do automobile accidents, nor marital cases, but any other kind of litigation.
Because I was reading a little bit that you were doing securities litigation.
An awful lot of that. Substantially any kind of litigation involving corporate matters, securities matters, antitrust matters, representing lawyers, representing law firms, governmental litigation. It ran the gamut except for the two that I've said I never did.
Right. Because of course when I saw securities litigation, I thought, oh wow, not for this podcast, but I have to ask you what you thought of how Irving Picard handled the Bernie Madoff case. That was super interesting for me to ask you, but we don't have time for that, unfortunately, on this podcast. But I would like to ask you if any one particular case that you're proud of or sticks in your mind that you could share with our listeners.
Well, if you have a little bit of time, it's going to be an oddball case. It was very early in my career. In fact, it may be the very first case that was given to me right after I started practice in its entirety. That is, the whole case. I mean, it's rare that you get, to be sure, it was a small case. It didn't involve millions of dollars or anything of the sort. But it sticks in my mind as one of my favorite cases, principally because it gave me the opportunity to learn some of the lessons about litigation that I was taught by the leading lawyers in the case, the leading litigators in the case, one of whom was a former judge and is widely regarded as one of the great lawyers, trial lawyers in the United States of the 20th century, Judge Simon Rifkind. And the subject I want to mention is one that I think it was Justice Robert Jackson who was a great lawyer and then ultimately a great justice, and also the chief prosecutor at the Nuremberg trials. And I think it was he, it may have been someone else who said, there has never been a greater invention for the discovery of truth than cross-examination. Now, the art of cross-examination, of course, is something that no trial lawyer cannot learn or should not be trying to be a lawyer without learning. And this little case, which, of course, I'm going to pick a winner, which I did win, both taught me the art of cross-examination, and I use it when I teach young associates the art of cross-examination. And I do so almost every year. And the lesson that I taught was this: how do you prepare to examine a witness in cross-examination? You know, if you ask a witness the question on cross-examination directly, did you beat up your wife or children? The answer is going to be no. So how do you get at the truth? And the answer is you have to come at it sideways. I remember the words. You need to prepare. How do you prepare? You prepare by, first of all, reading all the documents, and if you can, memorizing all the key documents, literally memorizing. The second thing you do is you spend your time thinking. What are you thinking about? Here's what you're thinking about. You're not thinking about how to ask, did you do it? The answer is going to be no. What you're thinking about is to ask what the witness wants to tell you and how you can use what the witness wants to tell you against the witness. And there was this case in which I was representing a woman who was in the art business, selling paintings, drawings, and so on. And she was being sued by a gallery owner named Richard Feigen, who was known as something of a bully. And he had a oral contract with her to sell some art. He was very dissatisfied with her and thought she should have gotten a lot more for the work she was selling. And not only did he sue her, but he was calling her names, destroying her reputation. And very little money was involved, but her reputation. And so I spent my time, as I was taught, to think, well, what is it he wants to tell me, and how can I use it? So now I have to tell you something about the specific nature of the action, a little about the law of partnership and the law of fiduciary duty in the United States. She was being sued for breach of her fiduciary duty, according to the complaint, because they were joint venturers.
What do you mean by fiduciary duty? What does
for
that
example,
mean
if you're the executor of an estate, or if you're entrusted with somebody's money, or if you're a partner,
right.
A partner owes a fiduciary duty to another partner.
Okay.
An executor owes a fiduciary duty
right.
to the beneficiaries. But the law of partnership requires two things. It's defined by these two things. The partners have to share in the profits by contract, oral or otherwise, and they have to share in the losses. So I probably thought for a whole day or two about what I'm going to do in this cross-examination. And by the way, it was a cross-examination at a deposition, which is an examination before trial in just a room which it can later be used at trial. And what am I thinking about? I'm thinking about the fact that the law of partnership requires sharing of profits and sharing of losses. And I'm thinking, well, what does he want to say about her? What he wants to say about her is that she's terrible. She's just awful. And, partner, what are you talking about? In any event, here's what I did in the examination. I said to him, well, Mr. Feigen, am I wrong? As I see your complaint and what you've been saying about Mrs. Esmond, you don't think she's very good at what she does. Absolutely. She's terrible. She's horrible. So, would you consider sharing profits with her? He said, are you out of your mind? There's not a chance.
Wow.
And, would you go into an arrangement in which you shared her losses? He says, come on, you must be kidding me. This was about 20, 30 minutes into the examination. After I heard those two answers, I said, I have no further questions. So he and his lawyer were both beaming as they walked out of the room, thinking here's this kid who doesn't know how to conduct an examination. They didn't lay a glove on me. So I'm sitting there, and I'm alone, and I'm saying to myself, oh my word. I immediately drafted a motion for summary judgment. It's a device for getting a case thrown out before trial. I drafted a motion for summary judgment. It took very little time. I got the transcript. I quoted him for those two subjects. Got summary judgment.
Which is a breach of his fiduciary duty, right? Yeah, brilliant.
And won the case.
Amazing.
And saved her reputation.
Amazing.
And saved her the money and won on appeal, of course. It was an easy call.
Wow. That was fascinating. That was I could have listened to that on and on and on. That's amazing. We've just been joined by Orli Gold-Haklay from BGU's Department of Public Affairs and Resource Development, who is also no stranger to BGU Radio, and not a stranger to being on BGU Radio with Max. How are you doing, Orli?
Right. I remember 3 years ago when you were at BGU and you shared your passion with us about the university out in stable care.
Well, I still share the passion that I showed then about both stable care and the university. And I'm here actually for not just the Governor's Conference. I'm here on 3 different missions. The Governor's Conference, which is ending tomorrow morning. From there, I'm going to an extension of the Governor's Conference for a task force that is a task force of the board of the Americans for BGU, which is involved in the subject of entrepreneurship, innovation, and most of all, assisting the university in the economic development of the Negev, which is a subject about which I have a great deal of interest. Mm-hmm. I know I was an economics major in college, and I know something about economic development. And so we've got all of Thursday and part of Friday on that mission. And then after the weekend, on Sunday and Monday, there is a conference, worldwide conference, at Stay Boker and the Water Institute.
Right.
Since one of the things that really drew me to the university was the Water Institute. I'm going to that conference as well.
That's great. That's great. What I wanted to ask is,
yeah,
what would you say the power of the attraction of BGU to you is right now? Because I know that you were involved in different philanthropic efforts in different areas through the years, and yet you seem to have fallen in love with this university. And my second question would be, what are the areas at the university that you would advise us to emphasize to the American world of philanthropy today? What would appeal to them?
You know, the thing that most drew my wife and me to the university, there were 2 things really. The students, we loved the students. On all the other previous occasions I've come, I make a point of sitting down, eating with students. They are just wonderful. They're really quite different from American students.
In what way? How do you feel they're different?
They're committed. They're committed to the university. They're committed to learning. They're committed to making a difference, and they're committed to their country, to Eretz Yisrael. It's a pleasure to talk to them. And the second subject is the Water Institute. I am a very big fan of the Water Institute, as is my wife. By the way, I should have said also meeting with the faculty. I love meeting with the faculty. I just had lunch with 5 of the faculty, and it was as good as talking to the students, if not better. It was really a joy. So for me, the Water Institute, the faculty, the students, that's what draws my philanthropic interest. The subject of philanthropy is, while I'm, and my wife as well, we're philanthropic, we don't think a lot about the philosophy of philanthropy and what draws people necessarily. Different things draw different people.
Terrific.
Fantastic. You know, one thing before we wrap up, you said to me, you just touched on it when we were in the lobby. You said to me something about, have you seen all these changes that have taken place since COVID? So what were the changes you've seen since COVID? The last time you were here?
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
You know, before we got involved in the university, the last time we'd been to Israel was in 2007. Then we came in 2016 and then fell in love with the university. Between 2007 and 2016, there was a phenomenal change in the country. It was suddenly a first world country. And the reason we came was I read an article in Scientific American that Israel had become water self-sufficient. Now in 2007, there was no glimmer of the fact, or at least we saw, that it would ever be water self-sufficient. But all of a sudden it was. So on that occasion, I saw an enormous change in the country. Now, having not been here for 3 years, we drove down from Beersheba to the campus, and I suddenly realized, gee, this didn't look like this 3 years ago. And then when we drove back to Beersheba yesterday morning, I really saw it in full daylight. I said, wait a second, all of these buildings in Beersheba weren't here. The Kedma Hotel hadn't been here. For the first time, the university has, on one of its campuses, a really first-class hotel. And I've been urging a first-class hotel for Beersheba as well. But so the construction that we've seen, the number of cranes that we've seen, it so started to blow my mind. And then last night, when I went, not last night, it was late afternoon, I realized that on the road, even in the Bedouin communities, they looked much neater, much better than they had even 3 years before. And then, of course, there's all the new construction in Beersheba for the North Campus. So maybe I'm missing something, but I learned yesterday that from one of the honorees, the head of Deutsche Telekom, a phenomenally interesting person, by the way, and brilliant. And he announced that he had just learned a few days before that Israel has now surpassed Germany in GDP per capita, one of the strongest measures of the growth of an economy, maybe the strongest measure.
Well, I didn't know it was past Germany's GDP. That's staggering.
I knew
amazing.
I knew it had passed England and France, and certainly I even knew in the first time I came in 2016 that it had passed Spain and Italy, but to have passed Germany,
that's staggering.
That is staggering, isn't it?
That really is staggering, yeah. Well, Max, we're going to have to wrap up, and as always, it's been a blast talking to you. And thanks for coming again to visit us on BGU Radio. We're always happy to have you come and speak to us.
I'm always happy to speak with you again, and it's just inspiring to see your enthusiasm and your support of our university, and we really deeply appreciate your partnership.
Yep.
Well, keep it up. Keep up the phenomenal work that's going on. And I'm really looking forward to seeing your new studio next year.
We're really looking forward to show it to you. And on a personal note, Michal and I, my wife, are really looking forward to spend some more time with you after the Board of Governors.
Absolutely.
And so thank you very much. Thanks to...
thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. Thanks to as well to Orli for joining us.
You're welcome.
Thanks to Buzi as well for all his technical help. And please go to our website at radio.bgu.ac.il for more great podcasts.
BGU Radio.
BGU Radio.